So as I got no keywords for today's impro, I'm gonna recount the story of the local passenger traffic journey as experienced by one Josephine on a particular April morning. And what happened was Josephine woke up and she got dressed. She put on her beret, suede beret, and her camel rim glasses, and powdered her nose and put on makeup and her long rational coat, her gloves. She took out her purse and her hygiene bag, and she went out of the apartment, locked the door, took out her keys, locked the door, put the keys in her purse, and walked down the stairs, through the entrance gate, outside of the block of flats, across the courtyard, then past the row of parked cars by the park. And she was appalled by all these parked cars. It's not that she was someone who would, be a busybody or mind anyone's business, but the way that people leave cars today is really, really heartless, and they do not take care of other people. So that was something that was really, really annoying her all the time. So then she turned the corner, walked to the bus stop of number 14 bus, and stood there waiting. And it did not escape her attention how careless the fellow human beings around her were being, like leaving trash, littering all the time. And it's not that she was someone who would judge other people, no, far from that, God forbid. But there were some things that a civilized human being simply had to notice and be appalled about it, and that's what she experienced. So she stood there by this bus station bench, and of course she would never sit down, because you never know, with all the people walking around, someone might sit with dirty pants or even stand on the bench, and she would never risk that. And it's not that Josephine was afraid of germs, of course not. She was a civilized, fearless woman. But you know, some things you just have to be careful, and you can never trust people before making sure they are trustworthy. And since she had not known who the people there were, she could not trust them. Absolutely. So she stood there waiting, lips pursed, perfect makeup, with her suede beret, camel rim glasses, and the long rational coat. And soon enough the bus arrived, and she took out her handkerchief, took out the payment card, like the Oyster card they have in London. She paid for the bus ride, put the Oyster card back in the purse, threw away the dirty tissue in her hygiene bag, and it's not that she was a busybody, far from it, or that she was ever minding anyone else's business. No, Josephine would never do that. But just for the sake of societal norms, she always made sure to check on every previous and following passenger that they also pay their fare fairly, because society falls apart if we do not stick to the norms. And she would not really often, well, she did sometimes, always make sure that she also made a clear remark to the person who tried not to pay or tried to slip by the driver, because that was not something civilized people do, and we are not barbarians, are we? Come on. Today everyone had paid their fares fair and square, so she was calm, and at the same time a little bit disappointed, because she had a few very juicy remarks in store, and now she could not fire them at anyone. So she kind of felt a pang of disappointment at the proper behavior of the people around her. But anyway, she wanted to sit down at the seat number 3, because you do not sit at the first chair immediately behind the driver, because that is reserved for pregnant people and elderly and those with difficulty in movement. And you do not sit on the second seat, because it is facing the wrong direction. And where do we get if we go one direction and face the other? That would be complete chaos, and we are not barbarians, are we? Come on, civilized people face the direction where they are going. And then to sit in the seat number 3 meant determination, meant you had a clear goal and you would go directly where you are determined to be, and not pick and choose and make a fuss and helter-skelter all around the bus. So she would never do that because Josephine was a rational and clear-cut woman. However, this day there was a young man sitting on seat number 3, and which was even worse, he had huge Sennheiser earphones over ear covering, and music was blaring with too much loudness for a civilized person to bear, let alone have to impose on others who happened to share the same bus ride. And the second thing that she found really appalling, the young man was sitting and his legs were touching the seat opposite him. So it's not that she would ever want to sit on seat number 2 because it was oppositely faced. It was obviously facing in the wrong direction, but still it was just simply barbaric to put your feet on the seat on the bus where other people might want to sit. So Josephine tried to draw her attention because it was obvious from her posture and how she was dressed, because she had donned her suede beret, her camel rim glasses, and her long rational coat, that she was hierarchically higher than the poorly clad young man sitting in her chosen seat. And she was sure if she had just managed to draw his visual attention to herself, he would obviously notice that immediately, stand up, bow his hand gently, and offer her his seat with tokens of sincere apology. However, the young man was, and which was even worse, he was not careless, he was just so immersed in his music, in his inner world, that he had not even noticed her. So she tried to draw his attention to her by emitting a polite cough of warning, and she failed to get any response because he was so immersed in the world of his music. She tried again, and again no response, and she was growing this fierce fire of fury and rage, and just feeling this righteousness growing inside her. This could not be. We have to keep order in society, otherwise where would we be? We are not barbarians, are we? So, determined to be a kind-hearted, loving and civilized woman, as she of course always was, Josephine was no brute, no, far from that. She emitted another loud cough of warning, trying to get his attention, and seeing that had failed, and the young man had still not noticed her being there, she opened her purse, took out a little chopping axe, and, reasonable even in her righteous anger, chopped off his leg underneath the knee. So that's the story of Josephine and her journey on the local passenger traffic, bus number 14. And I would really be grateful if I get some keywords for impro tomorrow night, because I really prefer impro to already existing stories. And this Josephine and a whole bunch of other stories, that's from a collection of brutal bonsajev that I've been writing and playing with last year, and they all end rather brutally or eerily or with an open ending, and I really enjoyed writing them because it's it's like a gay man dark vibe, but gay man as the writer, not as a homosexual male, just to be clear. And anyway, I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. And I hope I get some keywords from one of my today's viewers. Okay, see you tomorrow and have a nice time. Bye bye.